Hey developers, Noah from Tiger Data here. Over the last couple months, we've been hard at work on two different products that I'm really excited to show you today. AI coding tools like Claude Code, Cursor, and Windsurf are fantastic at writing code, and developers are using them more and more frequently every single day. However, when it comes to managing your infrastructure, they're not really doing anything meaningful quite yet. That's what we built the two products that we've been working on for the past few months for, the Tiger CLI and the Tiger MCP Server. These two tools, when used together, allow you to utilize these agentic coding flows that make you more productive while also being able to actually manage your data infrastructure. And today I'm going to show you exactly how by hopping into a quick demo. So without further ado, let's hop over. The first thing to do is make sure that you have Tiger CLI installed. You can pull that down through a curl request at cli.tigerdata.com. We also have a brew cask if you prefer to use a tool like Homebrew to manage your CLI tools and other dependencies. After the CLI is installed, you'll want to log in. You can do that through Tiger auth login. That will open up your browser and prompt you to authorize a Tiger CLI session. You can always check whether you're logged in or not through Tiger auth status. And here you can see that we are logged in and we have our API key stored. Now, what we want to do is utilize the Tiger MCP server for this particular demo. So we'll want to go ahead and run Tiger MCP install. And then you have a number of different coding tools that will pop up. For this particular demo, I'm going to use Claude Code. And just like that, we have a Claude Code configured to use our Tiger MCP server. And we can go ahead and spin up an instance of Claude Code. Now, in this demo, I'm going to show you how you can use these two different tools, the Tiger CLI and the Tiger MCP server, together for an example of what these agentic workflows that can actually manage your data infrastructure may look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Claude that I want to spin up a database, and we're going to add some mock IoT sensor data into it, and we will call that our production database. And then we're going to propose, hey, maybe we want to make some changes to this database, but since it's in production, we don't necessarily want to just be making changes to it live. We want to go ahead and use our fast zero-copy forking technology to fork the database in just a matter of minutes for zero cost and run our AI coding workflows against that forked database so that we know we can fully explore and make changes, and that if the agent flubs everything up, that there is going to be no risk to our production data, while still having the absolute guarantee that if everything ran against our fork in the way that we wanted it to, and we got a desired outcome, that we will be able to do that exact same thing to our production database, because they are functionally one and the same. We're just forking all of the existing production data at zero cost, and the only cost that you will actually incur on that fork is just any additional data that we add through the course of this particular session. So without further ado, let's go ahead and spin up a database. So I'll just ask Claude, create a mock IoT sensor data database and populate it with 100 rows. And what it's going to do is it will likely go through, look at what tools that it has, and it will use the Tiger CLI to manage all the infrastructure through a number of bash commands. And so you can say here that is using the Tiger CLI to use this command service create, and we're going to give it a name of IoT sensors. That's totally fine. And then it is quickly going to queue up and begin provisioning our new database for us. And here you can see with our database provision, it now wants to create a table called IoT sensor data, and then it wants to turn that regular Postgres table into a hypertable. This is something that you'll see throughout the demo, is that because we're using the Tiger MCP server, it has been trained on over the decade of experience that we have at Tiger Data on building on top of Postgres through our TimescaleDB extension. And so it is naturally going to retrofit all of your regular Postgres workflows into TimescaleDB native and optimized configurations. And so it wants to create a hypertable on our IoT sensor data to create a hypertable, which is how TimescaleDB manages and automates the creation and configuring of partitions within a Postgres table. Oh, and here it looks like it's trying to run multiple commands through the SQL MCP tool, which is not supported. You need to do one at a time. And so it's just going to break those two up. And here you can see now it created the table, and now it wants to create the hyper table, and it'll do so successfully. And now it will likely continue chugging along on our prompt. And as we can see here, yep, it wants to now generate 100 sensor data rows and hopefully insert that into the database for us so that we now have a good base to use for our production database. And here you can see it ran a bunch of SQL commands, inserted several different batches of inserts into the database, and now we have 100 rows across 20 different IoT sensors, each of which has a number of different values, columns, etc. And so we now have basically a fully functional production database. Now let's say, hey, we would like to have our Claude Code session make some changes, and we want to make sure that, hey, we're not bringing down production, but we do want to make a few changes to the schema and change how the database is structured a little bit. So I'll go ahead and ask it, create a fork of our database and run a few different changes for me. In the fork, I will want you to create a single .SQL file, and we will edit that for the remainder of our session. And so the reason that I'm doing that is that's just a very easy way for us to know, hey, I executed this single SQL file or this single migration against our fork. I can take that exact same SQL file and execute it against our production database. And you can see I am telling it to prompt here. Obviously, if I were doing this on my regular day-to-day, I would just embed all of this knowledge and context into, for Claude Code, it would be the Claude MD file, but you would just make it easily available to the AI where every single time you're spinning up a session, it knows the conventions that you and your team want to work under. And so that's why we have these two separate tools. We have the Tiger MCP server that has just a lot of robust knowledge around Postgres performance and how to optimize TimescaleDB specifically for these real-time analytics and time series workloads. And then we also have, for managing infrastructure, the Tiger CLI. And so if you are actually hands-on keyboard writing the code yourself, you still have all of the power to manage your infrastructure through the CLI very easily. And so we have these two lower level tools that are really composable and modular, and they can be used together in a way that works for you and your team. And so here you can see it wants to run the Tiger service fork, and it's going to give it a name of IoT sensor data fork. Looks like it didn't run the correct command, and so it's just going to learn from the error message, and we can keep it pushing. And so here you can see we are now forking our entire database with all of the existing schema, hyper tables, and the 100 rows, and just in under 2 minutes, we're going to have a fully functioning fork of all of our database that we are not paying any additional storage for. Any changes that you're making to the fork, you are only going to be paying for the diff of data. You are never going to be paying for that additional copying of data because it is using the same underlying infrastructure. That's why we are so excited to share with y'all all of these AI tools that we've been working on over the last few months. And here you can see it just decided to create some modifications. That's not quite what I want. I am going to take control here and just say, hey, I would like you to make these changes to the database. We'll keep it fairly small and modular, so we will add a new column for our sensor data table called air quality index. And then I also want to, instead of having a location column, I want to have a locations table with a foreign key that relates to our actual table and make sure that that locations table is normalized. And so we can know, even if I wasn't paying attention or if I had just fully automated the Claude Code session and I had just given it, hey, here are all of the high-level instructions, here are the schema changes that I want, and it went completely off the rails and did something, started creating new indexes that didn't make sense, and just inevitably went off the rails like so many AI coding tools do, we know that there is absolutely no risk to our production service. And we could simply come back to it after working on a different project or doing a code review, coming back 20 minutes later and realizing, oh, hey, this didn't turn out how I wanted it to. We could just run it again. That's the benefit here. You are not putting any of your production workloads at risk here, but you are able to verify that if it worked against the fork, it does work in production. And so we'll go ahead and see here that it's trying to alter the table. We'll say, don't do that. All changes should be in a single .sql file that we can use. How's Claude doing this session? It's doing fine. It's not great, but it's all right. And here we can take a quick look at what the SQL file is doing. So it is now creating our air quality index, and then it is going to create a few values here. Fantastic, because we have a few different sensor types, so that works fine with me. And then it will create the locations table, and then it will add a few of these locations table, and then it'll add that foreign key that we were talking about, and then update all of those location IDs. That looks like exactly what I want it to be doing. So we'll say, yeah, go ahead and create that. And once we modify that this .sql file works, we'll go ahead and execute it against our database. And we'll tell it, apply this migration file to our fork. And here we'll just iterate with the agent until we get a successful migration. And then if that migration runs against our fork, we know that, hey, that will work exactly against our production database. And here I'll spoon feed it a little bit with the syntax, just telling it exactly how I want it to do it, because it's imagining exactly how that should be created. And so here it'll stumble upon the right syntax, which is TigerDB connect, along with the service ID of the project, along with the route to your SQL file. And hey, it looks like it is now run successfully. And we'll just say, run a few queries to verify that everything worked correctly. I run a couple of queries. It looks like everything's working out correctly. We can always verify by expanding, and it looks like these are all performing how we would expect it to. So I will leave it at that, and I will tell it, okay, great. Clean up this fork and apply the changes to prod. And so here you can very easily imagine, while this example may be a bit surface level, you can very easily imagine how these coding tools and these AI workflows are going to successfully manage and integrate with your data infrastructure. And that's really why we built these tools in the way that we did, is to make them really modular and allow you to compose them in a way that makes sense for you and your team. And so here you can see that we just spun down our fork, and now we're going to connect to our production database and run that migration. And then we'll just run one really quick query and double check that everything ran correctly. And fantastic. So we can see in summary that we deleted our fork, and then we applied all of our migration, where we now have that different locations table, and we also now have that air quality index. So we were able to successfully fork our infrastructure, run a bunch of changes against it, iterate on that until we got exactly what we wanted. And then once we got what we wanted, we were able to just completely delete that fork and apply all of those changes back into our production database. Personally, I am really excited to see what you all do with these tools. This is exactly what we are imagining, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. I hope this was useful, and I will see y'all in the next video.